Steelers on the board after the Dolphins blitzed 56 people on that play. Booger McFarland was ready to come out of the booth. He was so angry about it. But Ryan Fitzpatrick on Monday Night Football, he goes deep and it's picked up by Minkah Fitzpatrick. Same last name. What a coincidence. Tess was on fire last night. He made this game feel like the Super Bowl, and that's his job.
Certainly sounded like it.
It really did. Minkah Fitzpatrick, 2 picks, playing against his old team. But the Dolphins are still winning. Guys, they make it out. Never mind. 2 shoes for this Schuster, we call them. That's 6 points for 2 shoes. 2 shoes. Nate, you coming in tomorrow? 1 purple, 1 yellow one?
Don't tempt me.
Come on, baby. Let's go.
Don't worry about it. I got you.
All right, Juju Mason-Rudolph comes from behind to win the Steelers with a pulse. They're alive. 4th quarter, guys. 17-14. Now, James Conner finished this thing off. I thought it was James Conner's best game in a year. Certainly his most productive. He was elusive in the open field. He was physical. It was everything you want from him when he came out of Pitt. Back in the days, we used to debate him and Le'Veon. Le'Veon sit out here. It was a lot of James Conner talk. Right now, the talk was about the Steelers winning 27-14 after a very, very nerve-wracking start at Heinz Field. So our own Mike Giardi, he caught up with linebacker T.J. Watt. He said, T.J., what changed in this game?
I think just being able to tighten the coverage up and getting more aggressive with the rush. We feel really confident in everybody we have on defense, and we knew we were smashing the run all game. It was just a matter of being able to attack them in the passing game. And once our offense started rolling a little bit, it helped us out too.
Game still hung in the balance late 3rd quarter. They had a 3rd and short and a 4th and short. Fitzpatrick twice. You held them. Was that sort of a little energy to push you over the top?
Definitely. Anytime you get a big 3rd and 4th down stop, it's big for momentum for not only the defense but for the offense as well. And we just want to keep building on these performances and putting out good film and film that we can learn from.
You like stats? Here you go. Thanks so much, Giardi and T.J. Watt. Well, Watt and the rest of the Steelers defense shut out the Dolphins in the final 3 quarters of the game. Check out the look at the stats to the final 7 drives. Let's talk about the Steelers defense, guys. Did they prove, Nate, that they're capable of carrying Pittsburgh? I'm going to say to the playoffs.
Sure.
Can they get in the playoffs with this defense?
Yeah, a really good defense, but we have to see it up against a really good offense. And it's not like they're playing against a top-tier squad with Fitzpatrick throwing the rock and sometimes throwing it recklessly. For me, I'm looking at the next few games, and I want to spin it forward because they're going to face the Colts, who are ranked 16th, but I feel like we all agree the Colts offense is a little bit better than the middle of the pack ranking. And then the following week, it's the Rams, who kind of catching their rhythm. Then after that, a team that's ranked 25th offensively, the Browns. And I know it seems like, oh, the Browns. At some point, they got to right the ship. And don't let it be when the Steelers are facing them. So as much as I can appreciate the way that Steelers defense was flying around, they got a strong test coming up these next 3 weeks. I will say this, though. As I'm watching the game, sitting on my couch, I'm sitting there with my son, little Nate, and T.J. Watt comes off the ball, and little Nate says, Dad, was he offsides? I'm like, I don't know. He looked amazingly fast. And I just have to credit that because there was a lot of questions about T.J. Watt coming out. And if he was the right pick, and is he going to be as good as his brother? You know what? He's a completely different animal. But pay attention to T.J. Watt. He's going to be one of the greats for years to come.
I think, too, coming off the Bosa national coronation, and the Bosas look great. Look out for the Watt brothers. I'm going to say this. I think over the next couple of months, we're going to have a lot of fun with the AFC because it's wild. And I think there's going to be some things that happen in the AFC that surprise us. I think there's going to be some teams that get in that would blow our mind right now. I think teams like Jacksonville or Oakland or the Chargers or the Steelers. I look at it this way. I think the Steelers need to go about 6-3 the rest of the way to get in. The defense is obviously capable of 6-3. I think it's going to come down to Mason Rudolph. I thought he played well last night. I give him a huge pass because he was coming off a massive concussion, terrible incident, everything. But I think going down the field, I think what's missing about him is some guys hit the field and they just got the moxie and they know they belong. Gardner Minshew, the second he got on the field, looked like he's a player.
Yeah.
Kyle Allen.
I don't know. Kyle Allen. I don't know if we've seen that from Mason Rudolph. All right, he's made some big throws. He made some huge throws against San Francisco specifically. But if they are going to do the 6-3 thing and be the team in December that's blowing our mind that gets in, I got to see a big jump from him. I think it starts between the years.
They took the Seahawks and the Ravens kind of down to the wire. If they were in the NFC, this wouldn't be a conversation.
And they went to overtime with the Ravens. If they win that game, I want to give Mike Tomlin some credit. Okay. This team fights also. They went into L.A., and obviously that was a bunch of Steelers fans, but they won that game. They go and win this game. They play the Ravens tough. Mike Tomlin basically was like, we can win without Antonio Brown. And at the time, everyone thought that was a very controversial take, that you would get rid of this talented player. Look at Antonio Brown now and what the past 6 months have been for Antonio Brown, and look at the Steelers now. They're a young, likable, fundamentally sound core that plays for each other, and they're doing all this without Ben Roethlisberger. I think if Tomlin can find a way to get this team to the playoffs, playoffs. It might be his finest coaching job yet. They're not that far away. Like Kyle said, there's AFC division leaders, and then it's a very interesting muddy field for those last 2 wildcard spots. Steelers, if things go right and break their way, they could be one of those teams.
My math is correct. A win over the Colts this weekend puts them within a half game of a playoff spot. So things are all open.
It's going to get wild in the AFC.
In the AFC, Mike Garafolo is joining us right now from New Jersey, seeing if things might get wild in the NFL landscape today ahead of the trade deadline, which is set today at 4 p.m. Eastern. Can you give us a few names we should have our eye on throughout the day?
I'm watching Trent Williams. I mean, that to me is the big one, Kay. The Redskins all along had indicated that they were not open to the possibility of trading Trent Williams. Now, all of a sudden, making calls as this thing gets closer to the deadline. My understanding was they were going to push this thing to the offseason, and they still might. This just might be their last attempt to check to see if someone's going to blow them away with an offer. And I do know that part of the reason that they wanted to wait till the offseason is they thought it was only going to be draft pick compensation from teams. So if somebody can give them a player right now, even though they're not going to the playoffs, let's say a wide receiver to be a playmaker for Dwayne Haskins to help his development this season, I think that would interest them, but it'd have to be a really good wide receiver. I don't expect Josh Norman to go anywhere, by the way. One other guy I'm keeping an eye on, Seahawks running back Rashad Penny. I mentioned on Sunday, he's not what I would call on the trading block. It's not like they're trying to move him, but teams have seen the depth Seattle has at running back and wanted to see if they would part with Penny, but it's going to take more than a mid to late round pick. It's going to have to be significant compensation for the former first round pick, from my understanding, because much as Chris Carson is the guy in Seattle, the Seahawks still believe that Rashad Penny's got good football in front of him and like what he brings. 2 other guys, we mentioned a lot of guys this morning, 2 other guys I haven't gotten to yet. Vic Beasley, the pass rusher for the Falcons, not going to take much for him, so you think there's still a possibility that he could get moved. And Broncos cornerback Chris Harris, winding down his days in Denver, playing out his final season as we expect there. I do not, however, believe he's going to be traded right now. There's no indications that that is going to happen.
We'll see. Rashad Penny was not a name that I had heard of, the number 27 overall pick taken by Seattle in 2018. They would definitely need a bit to get rid of him or lose that depth on that playoff-bound roster. Thank you so much. Mike Garafolo, Schraig's back here in studio. He's got a cell phone working. I see you feverishly taking notes.
Some more names out there. Robbie Anderson, final year of his contract with the Jets, the speedster. He could be had for the right price, I believe. They're not looking right now to extend him to a long-term deal. Another name, Melvin Gordon. If a Chargers are offered some wild deal, maybe they would be willing to trade Melvin
Buffalo?
Gordon.
Maybe.
Of course, Melvin Gordon hasn't had the season he had hoped going into this contract situation.
His first touchdown just last week, though.
Yeah, but a lot of these teams that won games this week kind of takes them off the sellers block. So I think a lot of people thought the Lions might be sellers. And Darius Slay, who wants Darius Slay and who wants some of the other guy? They won the game. They're right back in the thick of things. The Chargers, they win their game this past week against the Bears. Suddenly, they're right back in the mix. So any big deals that they might have made might be a little less desirable for them. But 2 names that I've heard are not going anywhere. A.J. Green and Geno Atkins from the Cincinnati Bengals, that they're looking to hold on to those guys. It's just what they do. And unless those 2 teams are blown away with multiple first-round picks, I don't think the Bengals are looking to shop either one of those franchise cornerstones, even if their contracts would lead you to think, well, why not get something for them before they walk out the door? Just seems like they're going to hold on to those guys.
Trades, I always feel like I look at losing teams, and then I also look at the Patriots and the Eagles, respectively, always. What's going on with those 2?
Eagles are always players, and Mike mentioned it earlier in the show. They were in on Jalen Ramsey. Then the Rams offer 2 first-round picks, and the Jaguars like, that's the trade we're looking for. Eagles weren't looking to do that. So Darius Slay's name has been mentioned for the Eagles, but it's going to take a lot. And if they weren't going to give 2 first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey, I don't know what they're going to have to give up for Darius Slay. And I don't think Darius Slay is that same category as Jalen Ramsey. So curious to see what the Eagles do. They're always aggressive. Howie Roseman always listening. Belichick as well. But I'm not sure you're going to see that blockbuster trade from the Eagles this week.
Now, stick with me on this. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, okay? So
bearing with
just think about the money this guy's getting paid, the record of his team, and the lack of production from this individual. Oh, and not to mention what happened leading up to this season, going from one place to another. Odell Beckham Jr. Is it crazy to think that they're entertaining the thought? Like, if you're paying them that much money and you're obviously not using them in the way that you intended to, is it crazy to get something for Odell and send him off to greener pastures?
I don't think it has been bad, though, with Odell. I think he's.
No, I'm not saying that's the case.
He's been on great behavior.
Right.
The team likes him. They can't look to Odell and say, that's the reason we're not successful.
Yeah.
He's still the receiver that they thought they were getting. So I don't see it. But the Browns, if they're even talking about Trent Williams, it means that they still think they're alive in this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, are the Browns a team that can be making some moves? Potentially. Odell, I would not put on the trading block. That said, I was as surprised as anyone that the Giants actually dealt him too.
Right.
So who knows? But the Browns are a mess right now, and yet their schedule gets a lot lighter. I don't think they view internally their season to be done yet. I don't think they would trade Odell.
Trent
hope
Williams is a
not.
very unique situation. You know, first they weren't trading him, then we don't know if he's potentially going to show up or want to play. We don't know what's going on. What's the market for him? What are you hearing? Are there teams calling and wanting him still?
Yes, he's a 32-year-old player who is disgruntled with his current situation. So does he go to a contender? The Redskins are one of those franchises where they'll ride it out. I don't see the Redskins rewarding this man by saying, okay, you're going to go to the Rams right now, or you're going to go to a winner. If the Redskins are going to trade Trent Williams, I would be shocked if they traded him to a contender. And wherever he goes,
That sounds petty.
It does.
It sounds petty and
It
personal.
does.
We're not going to trade you to a good team.
You didn't show up. Why would
Don't you want to trade him to the team that gives you the best value? Who cares what team
Sure,
it
if
is?
a team blows him away, but I don't see the Redskins giving Trent Williams to a contender and letting him get a ring after all the stuff that they've done.
Wow. Okay.
We'll see how it goes. Trade deadlines is hours away. You can check out everything you need to know. Right, that was wild. Right here on NFL Network. Of all the amazing quarterback play in the NFC North, we're forgetting about somebody. He is playing out of his mind right now.
He's doing his thing, that's for sure.
I'm gonna give the Lions love.
Are you?
What day is this? Mercury's in retrograde, and will the undefeated Niners go only as far as Jimmy G can take them?
I think they've got a lot of other things going for them.
Kyle, that's petty. That's petty.